poor loss to Duquesne on Tuesday night. And to set the scene for everybody, I was very conflicted on this game with Duquesne emotionally, Drew. And here's why. My brother's a Duquesne University alum. It happens to be the sister university of my high school in Pittsburgh, PA. So I always had a soft spot for Duquesne. But with that in mind, growing up as a Dayton Flyers fan with a father as a Dayton Flyer, anytime that Duquesne beat the Flyers growing up, I had to hear about it endlessly at my high school, because when I was going to high school, Duquesne was in the midst of the Danny Nee years, if you remember those. Do you happen to remember the Danny Nee years?
Vaguely.
They were bad, my friend. Not a lot of people remember them because they came and went without much of a flash. So to give listeners kind of like some background to the Duquesne basketball program a little bit, and I'm not going to bore you here, people. And I'm going to set the stage. I'm going to come full circle. But like I said, when I was in high school, Danny Nee was the coach of Duquesne, and his son even went to high school with me, and they were just deplorable. Okay, so Danny Nee was there for 5 years. He never won more than 12 games, okay, in 5 years. His best record on campus was 12-17. He bottomed out my sophomore year of high school in 2006 at 3-24, okay? And I remember, like, in those days, for one reason or another, Dayton just had trouble playing Duquesne. And in that bottom out year of 2006, thank God Dayton didn't lose to them. But there were other years that were just inherently pathetic where Dayton would lose to them. I believe in 2007, the Flyers went to the Palumbo Center and they lost to a Duquesne team that was coached by Ron Everhart that would finish 10-19. So you're starting to get it, listener. Okay, like losing to Duquesne back in those days was kind of pathetic, and UD was still in some rebuilding years. BG at those times, like they took losses like that in those days. You fast forward to what we saw on Tuesday night, and kind of why I've had frustration over this entire season. The Flyers got handled from start to finish by Duquesne, and it marked the third time this year that they've lost to, frankly, a lesser program. Now, the circumstances were a bit unique on Tuesday night. Duquesne, if you hadn't heard, if you're listening to this program, you probably have heard, but the AJ Palumbo Center where they used to play was fully renovated, torn down to the studs. They literally tore down walls to the point where you could see all the way into the arena from the outside street. And they built what is an immaculate facility. It's called the Cooper Fieldhouse. It's in the exact same place that the Palumbo Center was. Again, they just kind of tore it down to the studs. They didn't build a new structure. They just renovated the existing one. And what ended up happening is that they opened up their building against Dayton because over the years, Duquesne... Drew, you'll know what I'm talking about here. Duquesne treats Dayton kind of like the Browns treat the Steelers. Like, we don't think about Duquesne much as Dayton fans, but Duquesne fans really like beating Dayton a lot. And they look at them as rivals for geographical reasons and kind of like a big brother type of thing. But I don't think that Dayton fans give enough credence to the fact that Duquesne always really wants to beat Dayton. Their fans kind of do too, the fans that they do have. And so sure enough, the Duquesne Dukes did beat the Dayton Flyers. That marked the 12th time in 49 tries that Duquesne has bested Dayton since they joined the A-10 conference in 1995. That is coupled with the first loss to LaSalle at home since 1999 and the first loss to Fordham since 2006. All of those have taken place in the 2021 season that is unfolding in front of us. That's a mouthful to start the show, but you know what? I have to sit here today and just be a little bit concerned at where this program is. I'm a little bit concerned at how much momentum we lost off last year. We knew we were going to take a step back. Everybody did. But the amount of momentum that Dayton has now lost to kind of go back to being same old Dayton is frankly concerning to me. A lot of times when I'm concerned about stuff like this, I try to look at the positives, and I keep reminding myself that Dayton has the best recruiting class in their history coming in next year. However, the last time that we had the best recruiting class in program history coming in was the Juwan Staten class of 2010, and that would end up being Brian Gregory's last year on campus. So it's kind of a sad omen, Drew, to start the show, but it's not all roses in Dayton right now. No, I don't care. I'm sorry, I'm going to finish up, but I don't care like what kind of fan you need to be in February. If you need to be the happy-go-lucky fan, the optimistic fan, whatever, but you need to come to terms with the fact that this team just isn't very good. And that's where I wanted to start today, is saying I wanted to highlight how bad these 3 losses are in succession for a program like Dayton. So feel however you want to feel about the Dayton Flyers right here on this day in February. They're just not that good.
Yeah. So and that's the thing. You can be whatever kind of fan you want to be, and we preach that a lot on this show.
I'm not going to tell you how to be a fan. Exactly.
At the same time, there are people out there in the fan base who need to start being honest to themselves about this team. And just be honest with yourself. You'll feel a lot better after it.
I do. I know I do. Yeah.
I want to circle back to what you said about Duquesne viewing us as a rival, because I feel like I can start listing off other teams in the Atlantic 10 and they feel the exact same way Duquesne does about us. Like St. Bonaventure, would you consider St. Bonaventure a rival? They 1,000% consider us one.
Oh, they do, because Dayton literally beats St. Bonaventure every single year, no matter what. I mean, they've only won that one game at UD Arena in 2017, I think it was. And Bonaventure fans hate us.
When you are, I'm not talking from a basketball standpoint this season. I'm talking about, in a greater length of period. When you're the premier program in the Atlantic 10, as Dayton is, and I think they are, you're going to have that point of view from a lot of the, lower level teams in the conference. Everybody wants to beat Dayton. We're by far the most hated team in the league, and you can't convince me otherwise.
Yeah, well, that's partly arguing.
Maybe outside of ECU, because they're kind of the outsider. But for the OG Atlantic 10 teams now, we are by far the most despised.
Yeah, I agree. But that's, again, that's kind of like the cross we bear, which is fine by me. But
fine by me.
And again, a lot of that maybe is due to us, which I'll say, again, you're welcome. Fine. You're welcome. Okay, if I need to have a radio show that will get other fan bases riled up, I'm all here for it. Flyer fans, don't you worry about that.
Sure,
but there's only so many ways that I can come on the show the rest of the season and say that we stink. If I cannot believe that I woke up Tuesday morning, day of the game, I checked my phone and Twitter was buzzing at 7:30 in the morning Central here in Chicago with people giving me scenarios of how we're going to get into the NCAA tournament. And I know that I'm a little bit negative sometimes. I know that I try to be too realistic for people, but my God, if you didn't see the light by Tuesday morning, Dayton showed you the damn light on Tuesday night. They are not going to any NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and again, take it from me, someone who always tries to see the positive side of everything and tries to
put things in the spin zone for me. I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, that's what I love to do. I love to spin things, but I've recognized the at-large hopes were shot when we lost to Fordham. That's what you need to understand. That's 100%. Going to if you pile up all the resumes at the end of the year and you take all the bad losses from all the resumes in the country, that loss to Fordham is probably going to be in the top 5 of the worst.
No one's lost to Fordham. And you know how I know that without looking at stats? Because Fordham's only won one damn game and it's against Dayton. Exactly. I don't think even people appreciated how bad that loss was. It is most likely, given the context and where this program is and the season that it happened, it is I'm going to go ahead and say it is the most embarrassing loss this program has taken in the last 20 years. I really feel confident saying that.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree. I agree with you there. And the thing about the tournament is that the only way Dayton's getting there is if we get hot in March and we win the Atlantic 10 tournament. Not saying it's impossible. It's not likely. Sure,
I just don't see. Okay, so let's go down this road to start off the show. And I guess this is a decent question to talk about because this is kind of what we have left this season. Is that, again, whatever fan you need to be in February, you go ahead and be that fan. We got, we just finished up a poop game Tuesday. We got another poop game coming down the stretch here on Friday against George Mason, who I can't even figure out. I know the A10 needs their TV money. I know that they need to keep the ESPN2 slot. But there was a perfectly good UMass game they could have slid in from Saturday into Friday. I don't really see who benefits from this. We'll get to that in a second. But again, like this team showed you the light. Okay, they showed you on Tuesday night. This is who they are. So let's start there, Drew, because again, there's only so many ways we can say this team kind of stinks. What would be the formula for this team getting hot and winning the A10 tournament? Like, get the obvious out of the way. Jalen Crutcher is going to have to score 25 points per game in that tournament.
He's going to have to be
what's the other like pieces of the puzzle here that would have to fit together for the Flyers to be cutting down nets?
So you can't have Ibby Watson going MIA for 39 minutes.
No, we've talked about that a million times.
That's starter number one, but beyond Jalen Crutcher. And if you don't get past that, you're done. You are done. So Ibby, giving you what he gives you on good nights. You need that consistently. You need Elijah Weaver not to put up a Tony Snell stat line where he doesn't shoot a field goal, doesn't record an assist, doesn't get a rebound, has 4 turnovers and 3 fouls. I'm looking at the box score now, and all that just kind of registered in my brain. That is amazing. How bad of a game that is. In 15 minutes, mind you. Like, it's not like he played for he was on the court for 15 minutes and didn't record a single stat line. So you need something from him. Moose Amsel, you're getting from Moose now at this point. He's going to shoot. He's going to get you some rebounds, and you need him to be the same, and you got to play defense. And like I said, I just listed off a whole bunch of things that have to go right for Dayton to win the Atlantic 10 tournament. That's why it's not very likely.
It's a long list of stuff.
It's a long list. And again, is it possible? Yes, because we've seen it. We've seen the type of game they can play. Yeah. When they play, like they played against St. Louis, like they played against Rhode Island after the first 6-8 minutes or so. Like, that team is out there. We've seen it. You've seen it with your own 2 eyes. Yeah. That team exists. Now, will they exist over a 3 or probably 4 game stretch? Probably not. So, this is all probably a moot point, and everyone's going to tell me to start getting realistic, which I am. I'm not sitting here saying, like, oh, no, man, like, we're going to be fine come A10 tournament. We're going to win that thing. No. Why on earth would I say that? Dayton has never won the Atlantic 10 tournament. But wouldn't that be the funniest thing ever if this was the team that did it?
Yeah, and this does remind me a little bit of my junior year, which would have been the 2011 season, where it was kind of it was one of those years that was like this one. Like, it was over kind of before A10 play started. Like, by the end of January in 2011, the Flyers were 15-7, and they were 3-4 in the conference. And ironically, had just taken an 18-point shellacking to Duquesne at the Palumbo Center. I believe I was even at that game. I think I drove home from campus to go watch us get our asses beat. But same thing. So that season was like good and over by the time we got to February, and us, in the front row, we were just like, all right, let's trudge through it. We'll go to games, still support the team. The Xavier game was still coming up at the end of the year, which is kind of another aspect of UD basketball that we just don't have anymore. Of course, we have VCU, want to beat them real bad, but no matter how bad the season was, when you brought Xavier into the arena, like, it was a big deal. It was something that you could look forward to. And in that year, unfortunately, we lost an early Sunday game to Xavier that season. But again, kind of painting the picture for you, that season was over right around the same time that this one was. And sure enough, the Flyers beat Xavier on a Friday in the A10 tournament. They snuck past St. Joe's. And then I remember I woke up on Sunday morning, March 13th. This is 2011. And I walked into my friend's living room, and he said, "Hey, can you believe we're 40 minutes away from going to the NCAA tournament?" And that's the hope. Like that, I understand, I get it. I know why fans in this fan base need to hold on to that as hope, because there is a chance that we could wake up on Sunday morning at the A10 tournament. There is that chance. It's there. It's tangible. And if the 2011 team, with Juwan Staten and Chris Wright and Josh Benson and Josh Parker, if that team can get to Sunday in the A10 tournament, absolutely this team can get to the A10 tournament. Jalen Crutcher he is capable of doing that.
And that's just the thing. When you talk about like postseason basketball, and it doesn't matter if you're talking about NBA or college, I think postseason basketball really comes down to the talent level of players you have on the floor. And if you have the best player on the floor, you have a chance. Yeah. You have a chance of winning the game. And I'll I'll take Jalen Crutcher against anyone in the Atlantic 10.
And look at, I'll give you a good example of that, Drew. Look at the 2017 game that we lost in the A-10 tournament to Davidson.
Correct.
They were not a better team than us, but Jack Gibbs was a better player than anybody we had on the roster, and he cooked us. He cooked us real good.
That is exactly what I'm talking about. And if Jalen Crutcher has a run of games where, like, I'm not talking about 25, I'm talking like in the 30s, and that it's possible. But again, highly unlikely. But the possibility is there.
Before we go to break, and on the other side of the break, I need to further scathe you fans that are having fun out here or think you're having fun. So come back on the other side of the break to hear that. But before we do go to break, Drew, do you happen to remember how many points Jack Gibbs had in that game I referenced in the A-10 tournament in 2017 in Pittsburgh?
30. This is just right off the top of the head. 31.
He had 34. He had 34, 7 for 11 from 2, 5 for 11 from downtown. That is 12 for 22 from the field, and he got 5 from the charity stripe. All right, other side of the break, we're going to get to the A-10 rundown. We're going to get to the George Mason game coming up. I even have some trivia brought to you by our friends at Sherholtz Printing. Come on back, other side of the break. If you're listening to the podcast, I'll shorten this commercial break up for you. You're listening to Talking Out Loud Hour right here on 1410 ESPN Radio and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Talking Out Loud with Sully on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy and windy with rain and snow, a high near 38. Tonight's also going to be cloudy and windy with snow and sleet, a low around 20. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy and windy, a high near 28. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Without more licensed workers, Gary's roofing business might hit its ceiling.
Hey, that new contract just got pushed up. We are going to need all hands on deck to make this happen.
Hey, Gary, you booked me on that other job next week.
It's time to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Indeed delivers 2.5 times more hires than the other branded job sites combined, according to Breezy HR 2019. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Your Sunday game plan deserves the big taste of Milano's Pizza, Subs, and Wings. Order online now or call direct for Sunday pickup or delivery. MilanoSubs.com. Make your Sunday game plan now. MilanoSubs.com.
Sometimes driving is great, but sometimes it's not so great, like when it's pouring outside. That's when you need the new Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades designed to repel water, snow, and ice. Get yours today only at Walmart.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, with 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
There's nothing better than a fresh-made home-style meal, but not everyone loves the hassle of cooking. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, home-style happens here with our famous 12-piece family meal at a great price. This famous family meal includes 12 mixed pieces of Lee's fresh, never-frozen chicken that is honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to perfection, plus 3 large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. Get a home-style meal made easy today with Lee's 12-piece family meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Menards has the flooring you need to give your home a fresh look. Check out our great selection of Shaw flooring. Durable laminate flooring can be installed over most floors. Repel Cumberland laminate flooring is water resistant, making it good for any room in your home. Plus, it's available in 3 unique wood grain finishes. It's only $2.19 a square foot now at Menards. Sale prices are good through Saturday, February 13th.
Save big money at Menards.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. A Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 6677 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 6677. Enjoy.
Remember, customize and save with Liberty Mutual Insurance Company. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Welcome back to Talking Out Loud on ESPN Radio and wherever you listen to podcasts. Doing a little simulcast here today. Want to see how this felt for listeners, and it's brought to you by Lee's Chicken. And again, today's specific episode is brought to you by our friend George at Mobile Used Car Inspections. All right, so I am going to get into trivia right away. Hit the music. All right, trivia today, Drew, has to do with George Mason. I'm not done talking about the things that we did, we were chatting about before we got to the break, but I wanted to get on the trivia nonetheless. So we're going to sneak it into the show a little bit early today. All right, George Mason coming up here on Friday night. They are in their 8th season here in the A10. They have played a total of 134 conference games. My question to you, Drew, is how many of the 134 conference games has George Mason won?
134. I'm going to say they've won.
My hint to you is that it's under 500, obviously.
Under 500. I had a.
You could have guessed.
Yeah. I'm going to say 52.
Holy smokes, you hit it right on the nose. Ding, 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 ding. I think that is one of the best trivia gets that you've ever had on this show.
That might be 1A, actually. That was a poll right there.
That was a poll, my friend. The George Mason Patriots are 52-82 in their 134 games in the A10. The all-time series against UD stands at 9 Flyers wins and 3 for the Patriots. And they had a little home-and-home series before they jumped into the conference. So there's only a couple of games that they're outside of the A10. But tremendous pull there, Drew. Tremendous pull.
Thank you.
So as we wade through the waters into February, first things first, Flyers were supposed to play Richmond on Friday night. Again, that was an ESPN2 game. If you're unfamiliar with how the broadcast stuff shakes out, the A10 gets a couple of slots every week on CBS Sports. They get a bunch of weekend spots on NBC Sports on Sunday and Saturday, and then they get either 1 or 2 games Friday and Saturday night on ESPN2. So when Richmond canceled their game this week on Tuesday, I believe they were scheduled to play St. Louis, right? Or that was last week.
That was last Friday.
Okay, so Richmond had a game canceled on Tuesday because they had a COVID pause. And of course, when we hadn't heard anything by about Tuesday afternoon, you knew it was as good as done that the game on Friday was going to be canceled as well. And we got the word that it was. Now, the A10 conference is they've kind of been trying to fill games where they can. They want to get all the teams to 18 games. I personally do not understand why they're so committed to getting teams 18 games. But most importantly, we talk about this a lot, The A10 needs the money from their TV deals. They need to have their programs in primetime slots, and it doesn't get any bigger for the A10 conference, unfortunately, than Friday night on ESPN2. They almost always give ESPN2 their best game, or at least they try to. And this was their best game this week. So instead of pulling the plug, putting another game in, the A10 conference decided to send George Mason to Dayton to play. Again, I can't really figure out why they're going to Dayton since George Mason's already played in Dayton. But the other thing is, this doesn't really do anything for either team. George Mason was going to be off this weekend, so it made sense from a scheduling standpoint. But Drew, we're getting into the point of the season right now where I know do right by the athletes and blah, blah, blah. But my listeners out there, you got to give me a break with that crap. It's never been about the student athletes. It's never been about doing right by them. This whole COVID situation has opened every single fan's eyes to the end goal for everybody in college athletics, and that is making some money. Okay. And so under that breath, look at just what happened in Big Ten football in the fall. And I know all my listeners know what happened. The Big Ten was like, okay, here's our rules for the season. Oh, wait, too many teams are getting paused. All right, let's change those rules a little bit. Then you got in November, and it was like, our minimum games is 6. Oh, wait, our only team that has a chance at the playoff, it can't play 6 games. Let's change that rule too. And then look what happened. They got Ohio State into the college football playoff because they kept changing rules. This is a simple example to highlight kind of where the A10 sits right now. And I know we had some rose-colored fans being like, well, if Dayton's playing, I'm pumped. And I'm like, I don't know why you would be pumped to see this game. As a fan, that I'm the type of person where I want to watch sports when they have meaning. This game has no meaning. Dayton's not going to an at-large. George Mason's not going to an at-large. If the game was not played at all, it really wouldn't affect anybody's seeding in the A10 tournament. I know that the conference needs this television spot, but again, Drew, like, we're getting to the point right now where the A10 has got to be way smarter about the way that they're scheduling games, because getting UMass in a primetime game right now when they still could hypothetically play their way into an at-large bid, that is a better game for the A10 than this crap that they're giving us. So I guess I'm calling for the conference to be more strategic, to shut down programs that really have no more, they really don't have a reason to keep playing. Like, am I so off base? That's what I'm saying. Like, why is Fordham playing another game the whole rest of the season? Their schedule's meaningless. Like, everything down the stretch means nothing to Fordham. So, like, what am I missing here about why the A10 is not working harder to schedule better games?
Well, here's what I don't understand is, I understand, like, you want that Friday night primetime slot. So why not just take UMass and Rhode Island, who are on ESPN2 on Saturday, plug them in on Friday, and then
that's exactly what I said,
fill the Saturday slot with a game? That's what I don't understand is, like, UMass is top 3 in the league. They're top 4 in the league. And Rhode Island is hovering right around 500, like middle of the road. That game is inherently more interesting than Dayton and George Mason.
We'll take it one step further. I mean, you know as good as anybody, those Friday night games on ESPN2 have a tendency to attract, like, the college basketball world. Like, the guys that talk about it, the writers, and everybody in this program now knows the inherent value in that after last year. When you have a lot of people talking about your team, a lot of people forming a narrative about your team, those kind of things matter on Selection Sunday, like it or not. And if you get UMass in a Friday night game that matters against Rhode Island, and you get people saying, hey, wait a second, you know, UMass at the top of the standings. Hey, wait a second, UMass playing some good ball against Rhode Island. Hey, wait a second, their resume doesn't look so bad. Then all of a sudden you have another team getting a conversation in the A10 for an at-large bid. I just, I know that let's do right by the schools, and the A10 is always extremely diplomatic, but the hell with being diplomatic this year. Get the best games as many times as you can and give your teams a chance to play in the NCAA tournament, because right now the A10 is in a really bad spot. St. Louis just took another bad loss to LaSalle last night. They were the conference front runner, And now look at them. I mean, they started A10 play 0-2, and they really only have like 8 games left on the schedule to right the ship. So all of a sudden, your conference frontrunner that you're hanging your hat on to say this is the pride of our conference, they kind of stink. And it's leaving the A10 in a really precarious position.
Yep. And, just looking at it now, like if this were me, if I were running the Atlantic 10 today, I'm calling George Washington, I'm calling Fordham, I'm calling St. Joe's, and I'm probably calling Mason as well. You guys are done. Like, you guys are done. You don't have the amount of games. You haven't won any of them. Like, just shut it down for the year. Take your top 8 teams to the conference tournament. Have the top 8 play it out and get your bids and make sure you have quality matchups across the board. That's what I would do if I were the A10 commissioner. I very clearly am not. So I'm not making those decisions. And I understand money and TV contracts and all that stuff. That's way over my head. I get it. But, and again, just the A10 is it's just not very good this year. Like, to be painfully honest, it's just not very good. And so, yeah, like, you need to get your marquee games like when you can. And Dayton and George Mason just like, isn't it? Like, outside of a gambling standpoint, like the Friday night A10 game is a gambling staple in like across the country for college basketball circles. Like that Friday night A10 game is always pretty heavily bet on from all the gambling personalities out on the internet.
Yeah, because the A10 nailed it. I mean, for all the things we just talked about, they got wrong. That's one thing they got right. They got the Friday night spot all to themselves. And like, if you remember, we always go back to this game, but like 2 years ago when the Flyers were trying to get an at-large bid, and Rhode Island came to the arena on Friday night on the ESPN2 game, and it went to overtime, and it was a hell of a game. And the entire college basketball world was watching the game. Like, that is what you try to accomplish as the conference office. And this year, it just feels like they're kind of stuck in their ways, or they're not willing to be flexible enough to kind of think outside the box. And that's our job to do.
And that's the thing, like, your schedule is so fluid with what's going on. So just make it fluid.
Yeah.
Make flexing possible
and benefit you.
That's what, like, put a plan. And it all goes back to a plan and how well you execute the plan. We talked about that from a team sense. Now we're talking at it from a conference standpoint, is get a plan and be flexible. Like, have the ability, have the outs to move your games around into positions where you want them to be.
And the pushback that I got on this, because I said that I really am not excited for this game on Friday, and it doesn't make me a bad fan. It just makes me a realistic fan, and I'm not less of a fan because I'm less excited about this game. I'll end up watching it, but again, I keep going back to, for what? If this game didn't exist on the schedule, no one would be better or worse for it, and it has no impact on the conference whatsoever. To your point, I just wish that the A10 would be a little bit more flexible to keep making the schedule fluid. And frankly, all we're talking about is the A10 making decisions that benefit themselves. Like right now, as you look at the conference, St. Louis is not dead yet, okay, to get an at-large. Davidson technically also is not dead yet. Then you have Bonaventure is leading the pack, and VCU not dead yet either. All the teams that I just mentioned are between 46 and Davidson at 64. Rhode Island's right outside of that at 67. Okay. All of those teams could potentially play themselves in, with the exception of Rhode Island. They're 9 and 10. They're not gonna go. But all of those other teams have the potential of playing themselves in if they had the games on the schedule to do so. And I'm sorry, it is basketball negligence by the A10 to not give those teams an opportunity to play themselves in, because I'll tell you right now. So I'm looking down the schedule at VCU right now, okay? VCU has to play Duquesne and George Mason, and then they have 2 games against Davidson. They have St. Louis, Richmond, and Dayton. Okay, every game on that schedule is good except for Duquesne and George Mason. So how much better would their schedule be if you said, hey, George Mason, you guys are done. We're actually going to plug in another game with Richmond there. Or we're going to plug in another game with, let's say, I don't know, Davidson, play him 3 times, St. Louis twice, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever
why
it may be.
Hold yourself to 2 games when you want to get to a game number. Well, play a team a third time.
And they're already showing that they don't care how many times the team goes to a venue. They're sending George Mason to Dayton for the second time for quite literally no reason other than to fill a TV spot. So I know it's not gonna happen. I guess I'm trying to give listeners just another way to think about it, that I just wish the conference would be a little bit more flexible to just put their own teams in a better situation to get to the tournament. Because right now, frankly, it's looking like a 2-bid league, and then hopefully someone can steal that third bid whenever we get to the tournament. And of course, the other thing I'll wrap this up with, Drew, is I think you mentioned it. I would rather just see an 8-team A10 tournament go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You cut down on travel. You cut down the amount of games. I really just see no purpose as to why we need to have the same 14-team format. They got the Wednesday pillow fights. They're still going to play. I mean, no one from the Wednesday pillow fights has ever made it to Saturday. So this is where you just have to ask yourself, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I'm doing the Taylor Twellman. What are we doing?
That's an all-time clip. I was watching that. I just happened to be watching SportsCenter live that night.
Oh, me too.
Honest to God, I was on the floor, like rolling around laughing.
What are we doing?
It's one of the funniest live SportsCenter things I think I've ever seen.
Oh God, it's a good place to go to the break. If you haven't seen it, Google Taylor Twellman and U.S. men's national team. It was moments after the U.S. missed the World Cup by losing it, just like one of the worst games of all time.
Do you remember who they lost to?
It was Trinidad and Tobago. I was trying not to bring it up. I have really just horrible memories from that night. But go Google it. It's Scott Van Pelt is Taylor Twellman, and he's a former U.S. men's national team player. And he just absolutely goes off on the state of the program. It was kind of akin to like the night after we lost to LaSalle and me on this radio show. But anyways, other side of the break, Drew's going to give you the A10 rundown, and we're going to let you know where the season goes from here. Thanks for joining us. Talking Out Loud Hour on ESPN Radio 1410 in Dayton and wherever you listen to podcasts. Come on back after the break.
Talking Out Loud with Sully on Dayton's ESPN Radio 1410 Wing AM.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/news. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job in ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Are you involved with a school or charitable fundraiser that holds an auction, bid and buy booth, or a raffle to raise money? Many of the most popular items at auctions or booths are autographed sports memorabilia items. How can you get great items in your event? Call Adam Walter at Sports Investments. Sports Investments has a consignment program for fundraisers that has provided outstanding items. You select items that are proven sellers, including autographed pieces from Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Big Red Machine, the Bengals, the Browns, UC, XU, UK, NKU, Dayton, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. Sports Investments consigns the items to your group at a highly discounted price. And when they sell, you keep the profit. You don't pay anything in advance. And if something doesn't sell, you simply return it. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275, just 40 minutes from WING.
The Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is here to assist veterans during this COVID-19 pandemic. Even though we are not meeting face-to-face, we are here for you. We understand it is a difficult time with this virus threat and the strain of implementing social distancing. For those Montgomery County veterans who have lost their source of income due to their employers having to close or reduce their business hours due to the COVID-19 pandemic, you may be eligible for COVID-19 Special Financial Relief Assistance. Please contact the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission Commission at 937-225-4801 Monday through Friday for more information or to have an application sent to you. You can also visit mcvsc.org. The Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is here to help Montgomery County veterans during the COVID-19 crisis. Call 937-225-4801 Monday through Friday or visit them online at mcvsc.org.
Andouille sausage conies are back at Skyline Chili. They may look like regular conies, but savory spices in the sausage give them a bold Cajun accent. Come into your neighborhood Skyline today and kick it up a notch with Andouille sausage conies, made locally by Queen City Sausage. But you better hurry. Andouille sausage conies are only at participating Skyline locations for a limited time. Feeling good. It's Skyline time.
The thing about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive is that by now you've heard a lot of ads about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. We probably don't even need the words, the Name Your Price tool, to tell you that our humpback whale pup gives you options based on your budget, or that our novelty hand buzzer helps you save on car insurance. And that's the thing about the tiny felt bag filled with marbles. At this point, you've heard a lot of ads about the elusive northern bobcat. The Name Your Price tool, the neighbor who baked you banana bread, only from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
This goes out to the ones with dreams on hold. Thousands of small businesses are struggling. Young startups, old favorites. Together we can help. After the Super Bowl, me and some amazing artists are playing a first-of-its-kind after-party concert for them with Verizon. Together, we're raising money for small businesses. Watch live on Verizon's Twitter, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, and let's all pay it forward.
Listen to this radio station on the radio.com app. Connect with your favorite radio shows through contests, social media, and podcasts. Create custom alarms with your favorite radio stations, all free with the radio.com app.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers for home daily dedicated lanes. A $2,000 sign-on bonus, medical, dental, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody or apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. A Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 6677 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 6677. Enjoy.
Sometimes driving is great, but sometimes it's not so great. Like when it's pouring outside. That's when you need the new Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades designed to repel water, snow, and ice. Get yours today only at Walmart.
Buckeye fans, every Monday night at 6 p.m., make sure to keep it locked in right here on Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes for the Buckeye Roundtable Show. Paul Keels and the crew will bring you the biggest Buckeye headlines on the football field and on the hardwood. It's the Buckeye Roundtable Show, Monday nights at 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show, Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Welcome back to Talking Out Loud right here on ESPN Radio and wherever you listen to podcasts. Today is brought to you by George at Mobile Used Car Inspections, but the Talking Out Loud show in general and when we're live at Tim's is always sponsored by our friends over at Lee's Chicken. So I wanted to give time to shout out to both of them. Drew, I realized that when we were doing our trivia earlier in the night, I did not give our credence to my friends at Sherholtz Printing, but Sherholtz Printing is the guys that are bringing you the A10 rundown. I want you to give the listeners a little bit what they need to know about the A10 conference, just the need to know.
A10 rundown. As we said earlier in the show, St. Bonaventure still standing atop the conference at 7-1. 9-1 overall, 5-0 at home. They've won 7 in a row.
Bonnies look good, and they're all juniors. They're all coming back.
The Bonnies do look good. The Bonnies look good. Then you have VCU and Davidson, both at 6-2. Both teams pretty hot. Davidson has won 4 in a row, granted against lesser competition. But since that Dayton loss, they've won. They beat St. Joe's by 14. They beat LaSalle by 24. Beat Fordham by 15, and then they beat UMass on the road by 9. So that's a pretty good win there for them. That last win against UMass. The aforementioned UMass is there at 5-2 with Richmond. And then you get into the very, very muddled middle of Dayton, Duquesne, Rhode Island, LaSalle. LaSalle playing better. They have an identity now.
LaSalle surprising some people, Drew. We could talk about that, Yeah,
LaSalle surprises people. I watched LaSalle the other night, and they have a very, very distinct personality when they play basketball. And I think when you're one of these lower, lesser teams where you don't quite have the talent, you need something that you can hang your hat on. Like, do you rebound well? Do you run the break? Like, do you defend like junkyard dogs, like the whole court? Do you chuck threes like it's your day job? LaSalle definitely does that. LaSalle chucks like no one I've ever seen.
Yep.
And like I said, have a distinct personality. I think it's something this Dayton team like kind of lacks. I think the personality of this team is watching Jalen Crutcher and how fun that is.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They can't really have an identity when you need your point guard to score 25 points a night.
Right. So, and then you get into the teams whose programs I think should be shut down. And that's G-Dub, Fordham, St. Joe's. I forgot to mention St. Louis since they're way far down the standings.
They're 0-2. Yeah, they're technically in last.
According to record, but they're still they're still very much in the mix if they can get, their season back on track. So I'll pose this question to you, Sully. Let's assume St. Bonaventure is in as an at-large. So that's your one bid. Of these teams that I'm going to list off, which team are you most confident will make the tournament? VCU, Davidson, UMass, Richmond, St. Louis.
I'm going to go with Richmond. I'm going to keep standing for Richmond here. So St. Louis is 53, Ken Palm. Richmond's 54. And Richmond doesn't have anything like necessarily impressive on their resume, but they only have 5 games left on the schedule. And I'm assuming the A10 will probably throw them a couple more. If you're not aware, the A10 kind of built in like a week between when they end the season and when the conference tournament starts. So there could potentially be a couple of games added down the stretch here. But Richmond has VCU coming up on the 17th of February after they come back from pause, God willing. And then they have LaSalle, Fordham, St. Louis, UMass. Those are all very winnable games. And I think their season is pretty much going to come down to St. Louis. But again, we're kind of running into the same problem we just mentioned before the break, is that because the A10 is unwilling to move the schedule around, Richmond is in the position right now where 15-4 might not get it done because they're not going to have enough opportunities to pick up a quad 1 or quality quad 2 win. So that's going to hurt the conference as much as anything else right now. And I'm concerned. I'm just concerned that the A10 isn't being flexible enough and seeing the light at the end of this tunnel, because Selection Sunday is going to be a mess. I mean, you have teams that are playing 25 games. Some teams are going to be playing 15 games. I mean, Bonaventure right now is on pace to play 15 games total. And thank God they only played 2 non-conference, and their only losses to Rhode Island, because now they've rattled off 7 in a row, and they're a God-honest at-large team. So I don't know. That's what I'm going to go with. I think you got Bonaventure and Richmond. I really just have concerns about SLU because you're starting to see you can't take a month off in the season and then just come back and expect everything to be okay. You just can't. It's killing them right now, and you can see. They were a juggernaut heading into December, and now, I mean, they're just
the month-long pause killed them.
They're just kind of anything. Yeah,
it killed them. I think if they don't have that month-long pause and St. Louis gets to roll right into the Atlantic 10 schedule, I think they're still class of the league. But that's not what happened. That you take a month off and you're playing behind the 8 ball. I'm going to go outside of you. This is going to hurt my soul to do, but I think they're the best bang for the buck. It's VCU.
Yeah, I agree.
They're 13-4. They're 6-2. Like they're 6-2 in the league. They've taken care of business almost every night when they've needed to. That have 2 games with Richmond coming up. I think if they can get a split there, they're living. If they sweep them there, then they're really looking good. So I think it's going to come down to those. I think these are the 2 teams we're talking about come that time. And I think those 2 games, if they get played, if either team sweeps, they're on the right track.
Yeah, but again, like just what you brought up, VCU has the best chance to get to the tournament right now because they have big games coming up. Like they still have to play Davidson twice. They still got to play Dayton. They still got to play St. Louis. They still got to play Richmond. Like that's exactly what we're talking about. Is the A-10 should be padding these schedules the best they can for the top 4 to try desperately to get somebody to put some meat on their resume. So we belabored the point enough. People get it. So, Drew, the question that we wanted to wrap up the show with tonight is kind of where we go from here. And we said, we're not going to tell you what kind of fan to be, but you have to be realistic at some point. The at-large hopes are dead and buried, and they have been for a few weeks. But the rest of the crowd now is with us. If you're eternal optimist, you're on our side now. You know where we're coming from, all right? We're not being negative Nancy's. We're just telling you how it is. Dayton's not going anywhere this year, okay? Like, the best chance is winning 3 in a row in the A-10 tournament, maybe 4 in a row. That's it. That's where the season comes down to. We've been in this position before. Many years we've been in this position. But it's where do we go from here? Because frankly, I'm going to be honest with you. I shut the game off against Duquesne when they were down 20. And, they made a comeback, Sully. I mean, give me a friggin' break. Like, they were never going to win that game
get
down
that
20.
out of my face.
Okay?
If you're touting like how they never came back, don't bring that. Don't bring that weak stuff here. That game was over.
And so I hate to be like this, but I mean, this team just isn't enjoyable to watch. There's nothing enjoyable about them.
Well.
Okay, I'm getting there. I'm going to let you have your thing. We already set this talking point up before the show. I'm going to let you have your thing. This team, the team holistically, is not a fun team to watch. They're still turning the ball over at an offensive rate. An offensive rate to me, it's kind of like a play on words. I didn't really mean it to be like that tongue in cheek. There's a little too on the nose as a dad joke there. But they turn the ball over just a ridiculous amount. There's still only 4 teams in the entire country that are making more unforced errors. When their offense isn't turning the ball over, they're still shooting pretty well. The Flyers are taking, when you look at the statistics, not taking great shots, but they have great shooters. But here's the thing, Drew. There is one part of our team that is fun to watch, and it's Jalen Crutcher, right?
Oh, yes. You can make, we always talk about, who's the best Dayton point guard ever. And you can have a discussion, Brian Roberts, Scucci, many others, in the past. But I think what I'm about to say, and you can't really debate this point, Jalen Crutcher is by far the most prolific offensive point guard we've ever had.
I think so. Brian Roberts was probably a better shooter, I guess.
But was he as good of a distributor as Jalen was?
No.
Jalen was surrounded with the complementary talent, Jalen's ability to dish the ball, especially to Obi and to Ryan and Trey, his ability to get everyone involved within a game, it was very fun to watch. And this year he's had to take a little more Russell Westbrook in this game where he's got to jack up shots and he's got to be the main driving force. But I think he's the most prolific offensive point guard that's ever played a team.
Yeah. And I said this on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, but I am starting to have trouble hearing any argument to the contrary of Jalen Crutcher being the best point guard at Dayton of all time. He's going to go down as the leading assist getter in school history. He's going to be in the top 15, I believe, in points scored. And I think he's going to be top 5 in 3-pointers made. I
believe he's the only player to have those marks.
Correct. He's the only player to do all of that. So as I look through all of the guards, I just do not see a better resume, all told. Nigel Knight's certainly up there. But once you go further back through that, I'm not willing to make a comparison. For all of our older fans that listen to the show, God bless Don May and Johnny Davis and all those guys in the 70s, but I got bad news for you. Any person that played college basketball in the 70s would get absolutely dominated off of floor in 2021. And I'm not sullying the efforts of those guys back in the 70s. But like, they didn't have college weight training programs. They didn't have dietitians. They didn't have people watching over their every move to make sure that they were the best possible version of the basketball player they could be. I'm simply saying that the game has evolved to a point where players are just better now, okay? Like, Bill Russell was great in the NBA because he played against like 6 other teams. If he played today, I mean, Kevin Durant in a one-on-one would probably beat Bill Russell like 20-0 in a one-on-one game, right? So I do want to say that before I say I try my hardest to compare players in their own eras to their peers, right? And when I compare Jalen Crutcher's numbers to all of his peers, again, you said it yourself. There's only been one guy in program history that's had the 3-pointers, the points, and the assists. So I'm willing to put him above the guys in the 70s. That's just me.
It's different eras. It's a different era of the game. It's hard to compare eras. And that's the standing of my argument here is that, and like we said, he's going to be the all-time leading assist guy. He's going to be top 15 in scoring. And the third one, he's top 5 in what, games played?
Yeah, correct. Games played. And I think minutes too. I think minutes,
Yeah, that's the standing I'm taking. I'm sure those players were phenomenal back in the 70s and for what they were. And if you took them and like put the kind of attention that, these players get today, then yeah, maybe they are better, but that's, that can't happen. So what's the point in discussing that? But I do truly believe that Jalen Crutcher will go down as the most prolific Dayton point guard of all time.
Yeah. And I'm just, like I said, I'm not really hearing that much good rational argument against it, and I'm just having trouble coming up with solutions to kind of justify that argument. So that's why I brought it up. I do feel bad for Jalen, to be honest with you. I feel bad for him because he didn't deserve to go out like this. And frankly, like we said, the only enjoyable part of this team right now is watching him and watching how he's going to score 25 a night when he's getting double teamed. So I'll wrap it up there. This just in. Talking Out Loud is going to have a live pregame show. I'm not going to be on site at Tim's, but going to have a live pregame show from StreamYard on ESPN Radio, iHeartRadio, Facebook, and all that good jazz, starting at 6 o'clock Eastern, getting you ready for Dayton against George Mason. So pregame show coming up tomorrow night at 6. Drew, good time to wrap up the show. We're on a tight time constraint. What are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts, just like I said, enjoy Jalen Crutcher for however long you have him left. And we're starting to get down the home stretch of the season here. We've entered February. This is when basketball radars start peaking up a little bit. Super Bowl on Sunday, so it won't be any more football. This is really when my basketball consumption really ratchets up. So why don't we end the show with the final thoughts with a quick college basketball play tonight, shall we? Let's take a look at the slate. We're looking at the board, and you know what? I'm just going to go winging on this one. Over 136, Washington State and Oregon tonight at 11 p.m.
Oh, okay. You got the over tonight, the late game. I like it. I'm going to be up late watching hoops as well, so that's a fair play as any. Thanks for joining us. You don't need my final thoughts because, like I said, I'm going to be coming right back to you tomorrow. I'll have special guest PD Buckets on to preview George Mason with me. We already played him once, but I like to get the temperature of the program from a bunch of different voices. So that'll be on ESPN 1410 here in Dayton and iHeartRadio and all that other stuff I always mention. Getting you ready for the 7 p.m. tip again on ESPN2 between the Flyers and the George Mason Patriots. Thanks for listening to us all the way to the bitter end. This has been Talking Out Loud with your man Sully here and my colleague Drew, and you can only find it right here on 1410 ESPN Radio and the Talking Out Loud page where you listen to podcasts. Catch you tomorrow, nerds.
Talking Out Loud with Sully on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
First Florist and Greenhouses, the official florist of ESPN 1410 WING. Order your Valentine's Day bouquet now at 937-223-1213 or online at firsttheflorist.com. FURST, First Florist and Greenhouses.
Your Sunday game plan deserves the big taste of Milano's Pizza, Subs, and Wings. Order online now or call direct for Sunday pickup or delivery. MilanoSubs.com. Make your Sunday game plan now. MilanoSubs.com.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. A Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 6677 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 6677. Enjoy.
Thinking about life insurance? Did you know in just a few minutes you can find the best price from up to 10 price competitive companies for free? You can with SelectQuote. For example, George is 39. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $22 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino, and believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-461-4545. That's 800-461-4545. 800-461-4545. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Sometimes driving is great, but sometimes it's not so great. Like when it's pouring outside. That's when you need the new Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades designed to repel water, snow, and ice. Get yours today only at Walmart.
Dayton Flyers basketball fans, don't miss Talking Out Loud with Sully every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Game recaps, game previews, visits from former Flyer greats, and more. It's a show by the fans, for the fans. Talking Out Loud with Sully, Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Wear red and be loud. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle. We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone. WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
God, if I am ever in the same room with Tyler,
I won't rub it in, Golden, but I just turned 28 a couple days ago.
Hey, listen, I can already see the peak starting to develop back there a little bit, man. You better be careful. Watch out. Right? I'm worried
you still
for
look
you.
good. You still look good. It's all good.
Tyler Cameron with us here on Chiney and Golick Jr. Now, Tyler, now that we have gotten the important NFL business out of the way here, your buddy Matt James, who we've just talked about on here, the current Bachelor, is about halfway through. They made this very clear in the last episode. We're over the halfway mark, and things are getting serious now. So, from what you've seen, how are you grading his performance and his season so far in the Bachelor house?
Well, I think he gets a B-, and that's not his fault. It's the girls' fault because there's so much bullcrap and drama between all these girls. We don't even get to see Matt. I'm over these girls. So I'm glad a lot of them are getting off and getting eliminated. We can start getting to some serious now. You get over that hump, that BS hump in the first half. It's about to get real. About to see more of Matt, more of the connection. So I'm excited. Maybe he'll improve from my B-, maybe get up to an A. We'll see.
All right, there we go. You know what? Room for improvement, which we like. He's a second-half player on this season. And, Tyler, I don't want to give too much away now, but when they showed the previews for the upcoming episode this Monday, you finally make an appearance. Bachelor Nation's been waiting, wondering when you were going to show up on this one. And so, without giving too much away right now, what are you going to try to impart on? What kind of wisdom are you going to give to your buddy Matt going forward in the show here?
I just told him to cut it loose. Leave it all out there on the field, like they say on football. You know what I mean? Put it all out there. Leave it with no regrets. Just be yourself, have fun, and leave no stone unturned. Just give it your all and see what happens.
Be honest with us, Tyler. Before you left there, did you leave him something nasty in his room to make up for all this underwear hanging and stuff that goes on at home?
I never got to go to his room, though. That was the problem. I never got to go to his room. But if I did, I would have got him. But guess what? He got me. Just remember that.
That is very
Absolutely.
true.
Tyler C. here with us on ESPN Radio, Chiney and Golick Jr. Now, you said it was your birthday. How was it?
It was good. It was a very chill birthday. Hung out with the family and friends. Nothing too crazy, but it was a good one.
Did Matt get you anything for your birthday?
He said, "Happy birthday, bro," in a text.
Wow.
I'm gonna have to text him this weekend.
All right.
He's been gone in LA though. He's been gone in LA.
All right, this is fair. You know what? At some point, you came on this show to break bread today, and with mixed results, I think there's still got a pretty painful dig in there at my expense. But
it was factual.
Listen, it was, and he insinuated that I could still